Hey, this is Kyle Carver from Strong Dads. Strong Dads wants to thank Crimer Beer House for sponsoring today's Strong Dads podcast. The beer house was started in 1982 by the Crimer family. Since that time, they have become a Cincinnati favorite. If you're looking for an incredible meal and an incredible setting, you have to try Crimer's Beer House down on Route 128 in Cleves, Ohio. All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Strong Dads, and I'm really excited here to be with you guys. Do another show as the snow is falling outside. It's not good. That's terrible. Merle, what's going on today?
Oh, everything and nothing. Yeah, lots going on. Man, how was your Christmas?
It was good. I think it was good. We'll have to talk to Jenny. We'll see what she says.
Yeah, get her take on it. Yeah. Man,
no drama. No dramas.
Yeah.
That's always good.
Always good to see family and everything. That was good.
Yep.
So, what are we talking about anyway?
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about pose a little question that why doesn't God's time, His watch, why doesn't it seem to match up with mine? Like, what?
Oh man, that's a great question. I ask all the time. You know, God needs a new watch.
Seriously,
He needs a new watch.
It's got to sync up with mine a little bit better.
Yeah, He does not sync with my watch at all, and I say that quite a bit because it's just it can be frustrating. Like you're out there and you're praying, you're talking to God, and things just don't seem to come together, and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to be learning from this? What's the point here? This definitely we're gonna have some things to talk about. Sure on this one.
So before I guess talk about that, we should probably jump into our sponsors. You talk about them a little bit.
Yeah. So we want to thank Crimer's Beer House. Boy, I'm still thinking about that meal we had a couple weeks ago.
So I think our last show we didn't actually talk about the Porter John. We didn't talk about the amazing urinal. We said we were going to talk about.
We were so thrilled about that. You know, we're not going to talk about the food right now down at Crimer's Beer House. And ladies, I'm sorry, you're not supposed to be listening to this show anyway, but you're always welcome. But if you go into the men's restaurant, they got the coolest urinal I've ever seen.
I took a picture of it to show Linda and Jenny when we were down there. I'm the creeper that's in the bathroom taking a picture. I had to show him though, right?
Oh, Mark Crimer, please don't arrest him. You know,
no one else is in there.
But in there, that urinal, he took an old keg of beer and cut that sucker up and turned it into a urinal, and it's really cool. He's got, a little
Harley Davidson
like
flush?
A shield sort of thing on the flush. That was pretty cool. I might have to see if I can get my tools out and
Merle comes out of the bathroom, I think, and he was like, "Hey, Linda, I found the urinal I want at our house." And Linda gives him the look like, "What? No, we're not having a urinal at our house."
All right, we better.
Oh, yes.
So we want to thank Crimer's Beer House for getting behind Strong Dads and supporting us financially. And so if you're looking for a great meal and a great setting, you need to go down to Crimer's Beer House down on 128 outside of Cleves, Ohio. So they do a fantastic job. Go down there and tell them that you heard about their place on Strong Dads, and Mark Crimer, if he's around, he may come out.
Man, he took care of us, didn't he?
He's a good man, good man. So we want to thank him.
Yep, and we also definitely Strong Dads wants to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency in Bright, Indiana, for coming behind Strong Dads and believing in what we believe in and what we're talking about. They've been around since 1981, and the Mansfield Insurance Agency is dedicated to the individuals and business in Bright, Indiana, serving the clients in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. So thanks so much for coming alongside of us. So all of your insurance needs, definitely go check out Mansfield Insurance Agency.
All right, very good. Okay, so you know what I mean, man, right? We're waiting for the next job. We're waiting for the next event. We're waiting for a relationship. We're waiting for a cure. We're waiting for some laughter in our life. We're waiting for something positive. Yeah. We're always waiting. We're waiting. It sounds like a military thing, right? You hurry up and wait. And so let's just talk about this a little bit. How about, Kyle, you got any examples that you would like to share where you're just like, come on, God, what are you doing here?
Yeah, do I ever?
Well, we only got about 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, we got 30 minutes. That's right.
Yeah, so we don't want to keep people waiting too long.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. For those who don't know, I'm a fireman and I work for the city of Dayton currently. And prior to that, leading up to where I am now, it was one of those things where I really felt like God wanted me to be in this profession, in this job. I really feel like I had been set up, with some of my skills and abilities, kind of led me towards police or fire, something in that neighborhood. So going through that, I've had a lot of trials, a lot of failures, in my eyes, what I would consider failures, leading up to where I'm at. Whether it be, I started, at the time I was part-time working for multiple different fire departments in Cincinnati area, trying to get something to come through. At the time, about 12 years ago, being a paramedic was really made you marketable. So I knew I wanted to go because, again, I thought this is where I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to be doing. So I enrolled in a paramedic program in 2009, and I failed out of that program, and then enrolled back in another program later on, and I completed the whole program and then failed the national test. I failed it 6 times, and part of failing something 6 times is...
Well, somebody might say, here's your sign.
Might, yes. But the requirement per the national standard is after you failed the national test 6 times, you have to retake the whole class. So then I enrolled back in the class again, and this was 2013. Enrolled in the class, and then I got the call from Dayton after I had taken their test, their civil service written exam. I took that, waited 2 years to get a phone call from them. Finally got the phone call from them. I had to drop out of that paramedic program, and then working with City of Dayton, one of the requirements that they were going to implement was you had to be a paramedic, or else they could potentially fire you. So I enrolled and went on my own, so that way those restrictions weren't going to be on me. Finally completed the paramedic program, finally got my paramedic card. And it's one of those things where, I've heard my wife, Jenny, says it before, like, God's watch doesn't always fit into our calendar. And that what I see as failures, I failed the test, I failed the class. In God's eyes, like, I don't know if he really saw them as failures. Like, it wasn't according to his time. So now I'm a firefighter paramedic. At the time, I thought in order to get a full-time job, I had to be a paramedic. Well, come to find out, God was like kind of chuckled at that. He's like, no, like, I'm going to give you that full-time job first, and then I'll give you the paramedic thing. So it's been a long process of getting to where I'm at now. And I still, day to day, I still have struggles, I still have failures, I still am not where, I think God's time's a little bit off. But
I'll let you say that. I'm not saying that.
But he would probably sit back and be like, "No, this is where I want you to be. This is the right timing, not your timing. This is the right timing." So,
can I stop? Why didn't you quit? I mean, honestly, I don't know that I could have taken that.
Yeah, I mean, it took me 9 years to get my current paramedic card, and there's doctors.
I was going to say, are you a doctor?
I'm not even close. It's just been something that I think part of it is my dad taught me to never quit. Even if you're not having your best day, like, you just gotta keep going at it. And it was something that I have a passion for the fire service. It's something that I really enjoy doing. Okay. Again, I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. I feel like God He gave me these skills and abilities. This is what I'm supposed to do. So it was something that I want it so bad, and I have a passion for the fire service. But so it's been something that it's just more of a passion, a drive that I have to want to succeed in something. I hate failing. It's something that I hate doing, and that umbrella of the paramedic card was kind of I felt like it kind of held me back a little bit. So it's been something that it's been kind of a goal that I've always had to get that, and I finally got it. So
yeah. So it is kind of interesting because I want to separate two things here in your work world. You have fire service, and then you have EMT paramedic type stuff,
yep,
right?
Absolutely.
So your desire, your heart has always been kind of pressed to do the fire side of things. But in a lot of fire departments and that work, it's kind of mandatory that you become a paramedic as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah, because the majority of our job is EMS related. You'll hear anywhere from like 80 to 90% of our job is EMS related. So although it's not something that I have a true passion for, like I do the fire side, it's still something I know is a part of my job. I know that it's going to be there. It's something I have to, I have to have those abilities and those skills to be able to do to perform. I'm really big on wanting to have value for my crew, the guys that I work with every third day. Like, I want to have that value for them. So it's been something that, in order to help serve the guys that I work with, like, it's got to be something that's a part of my day-to-day operation. So,
right.
And again, that's kind of a driving force in getting where getting that paramedic card is I want to be valuable to my crew. So,
right. Even though it's not that side of the business is not something that really inspires you, it's the fire side that does. But the idea that you kept persevering there, man, I can just see lots of reasons. And I could have, if you would probably ask me for advice back in those days
Yeah.
when you were going through that, I don't know, that would have been a hard one for me.
Yeah.
Because I could see myself shifting the other way and saying, well, maybe this is a sign that you're not supposed to be doing this.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I had those same thoughts. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, maybe this isn't what God wants for me. Maybe this, he's pulling me, drawing me to something else. But it's, again, I just had that strong passion for the fire service and for fighting fire. It's something I thoroughly enjoy to do. And this just happens to be one of those things that I had to, a hurdle that I had to kind of overcome in order to get where I'm at. So,
man, that's good. And you know what? We're going to probably come back to that word of passion because the passion or the fire in your belly, kind of, so to speak, is something that allows us to overcome or persevere through what we see as a roadblock or God's timing not matching our timing.
Yeah.
So passion is really important.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I have countless things just like you're talking as well that you're thinking, man, this would be really cool. I can't wait. Whether we've had several homes that we thought we were going to buy, and boom, it blows up in the last minute. And so you spent that time like envisioning yourself living in this new home or whatever, or this different home, and it falls through, and you're like, God, why did you even let me see it the first time?
Yeah.
I got all fired up and excited, and so you can kind of question some of that. And currently I have several fitness products that I've created, and I had a timeline in my mind as to getting those products completed, getting them protected with patents and trademarks, and then getting them to the market. I've been doing this stuff for nearly 10 years now. And in my mind, that was going to be about a 1.5 to 2 year process. Yeah. And it's been very frustrating at times. I'm like, oh my gosh, how many more rejections do I have to get from licensing deals and stuff like that when you're trying to get the product out to market? And there's been many days where I thought, am I not supposed to be doing this? And then as you kind of talked about, I find myself waking up in the middle of the night dreaming about like the next product or a product that I'm working on or trying to refine something.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that wakes me up at night.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for me because I question like, okay, why do I keep burning fuel on this?
Yeah.
And why is God not allowing? Because God could do anything He wanted, right?
Sure.
I mean, He could do whatever He wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not questioning that. What I'm questioning is, what's the time frame here? And because I'm getting a lot of anxiousness or frustration from it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what we're talking about. And I'm sure you strong dads out there that are listening, you've all been in line on something and wondering, how long is this going to take? What's going on? What am I supposed to get out of this? What am I supposed to learn? So let's back up a little bit and let's talk a little bit about what this is about, okay? Sometimes you maybe heard the phrase before, I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah. I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah. And I'm guilty of that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not going to believe stuff until you got to show me. You got to show me. And what happens is when we don't see it, like you don't see the job that you were striving for.
Yep.
I don't see a product come to the fruition of the market that I have been wanting. So you stop believing in it, okay? And so I'll believe it when I see it. It speaks to us as doubters.
Oh, yeah.
As doubters.
Yeah.
And I want to move this conversation over to us as strong dads about how sometimes we do this with God.
Yeah.
You and I, we're visual creatures.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I mean, I can see stuff, and I've got a pretty good vision for stuff.
Yeah.
But when I can't see it, it's hard for me to believe it.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with God is tough. It's tough for me because I need God sometimes to be like, I want Him to be a dude walking down the street with me saying, hey, I'm God. All right, you see me? You see me?
Yeah.
And start to do stuff that I can actually see. That reinforce, like, okay, yeah, He is who He says He is.
Well, the kind of the ironic part of that, and I feel like sometimes I would be the same way. Like some of the dudes, the 12 dudes that were the closest to Jesus, when they actually got to see Jesus, they still doubted.
Yeah.
Like, they were able to see Jesus, and they were like, he'd making these big claims, and he would back some of them up, and it's like, they even had doubt. So I find myself like, if I was the disciples, if I was one of the 12 dudes that were the best friends with Jesus, like, would I believe some of the stuff he was saying? And like, God sent Jesus down here to do crazy, crazy things. Like, would I believed? Like, even though I'm seeing it and I'm seeing what he looks like and he's making these claims and I'm watching him come through on those claims, would I believe, like, he is the Son of Man? Like, that's crazy. Yeah. Crazy. So it's kind of that perspective of, like, yes, I think there's a lot of value in actually seeing stuff come to, getting that job, having the patents come through. There's a lot of value in seeing that, but sometimes we still have those doubts that, like, Jesus, God's time, there's no way that his time and my time are syncing up. Like, I want it now.
Yeah. You think about how strange so many things are in the Bible, and it's the thing that I think oftentimes chases people away, or sucks them in even tighter.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about Noah building an ark.
Yeah.
This is freaking stupid.
No power tools.
No power tools. Yeah, it's going to flood. You're going to put all these animals in there. Just that whole idea of that sort of thing happening doesn't make sense. Yeah. The timing doesn't make sense. And when I say doesn't make sense to us men. Right?
Yep.
And so it's that type of stuff. There's good company here. How about Sarah and Abraham?
Yeah.
Sarah and Abraham, they're older than me.
I was going to say, they're old. They're old.
And all of a sudden, God's telling them they're going to have a kid.
Yeah.
And they literally laugh.
Yeah.
In Scripture, they laugh like, this God dude, I'm not sure that we can trust him. Okay?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we have the offspring of Sarah and Abraham that changed the course of history. I mean, for all mankind.
Yeah.
And continue to do so.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas, you want to talk about seeing and believing.
Yeah.
He saw Jesus in the flesh and still didn't believe that he had resurrected. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, no, you guys are drinking a little bit too much. Yeah.
And, he had to put the finger. I mean, that stuff like that's crazy. Like, those guys actually saw it. And just like you were talking about being in good company, like, there's a lot of guys who had doubts, a lot of people in Scripture that had those doubts that, God's timing and my timing, they don't always sync up.
Yeah. I look at just, when things don't match up, like Moses, all of a sudden Moses is getting these messages to lead the Israelites.
Yeah.
And it doesn't match. Moses is like, no, I can't even speak, right? I've got a speech impediment or something. I'm not a leader that way, and it doesn't match. Yeah. Right? And so the timing, the scenario doesn't work. Yeah. And it comes through. How about, I like this story with Mary and Martha.
Yeah.
So Mary and Martha, their brother Lazarus is very sick, and they know that Jesus has been out there in the healing business, right? Yep. And they're like, hey, get Jesus over here. Get him over here to heal Lazarus. And Jesus doesn't respond immediately.
Yeah.
His watch doesn't match these ladies. And Lazarus dies.
Yep.
And Mary and Martha are ticked.
Yeah.
When he shows up, they don't go, oh, thanks for showing up. They start yelling at him.
Yeah.
Where were you? Why didn't you come when you were called?
Yeah.
He died.
Yeah. And then Jesus weeps.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, that's confusing.
Yeah.
Right? He knows what he can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's confusing. But then all of a sudden, he brings Lazarus back. And so, I'll go one step farther here. How about this for wondering why things are the way? Even Jesus had reservations.
Sure.
Okay? I mean, when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane and he was praying, and he makes a statement about the idea of, hey, things are getting kind of crazy here, Lord. And he says, Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. Not my will, but yours be done. Mm-hmm. I mean, even he's saying, hey, is there a different way? What other plan could be out there? So even Jesus is showing his humanness in this, like, oh, gosh, what's going on here? So I think the point being here is we're in good company.
Great company.
Yeah, we're in great company
Yeah.
with our confusion, with our frustration, with our angst, with why is it going this way?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's important. All right. The next thing to understand is perspective.
Yeah.
What I mean by perspective here is how we see things from our little eyeballs and how God might see things from his. I think of it a little bit like this. Linda and I just had the opportunity to fly a little bit not too long ago. And when you show up at the airport, we flew at a 787, okay? So that's one of the biggest aircrafts out there.
Yeah.
And when you walk out to load onto that thing, you can look out the windows there and see that big old 787, and it is massive.
Yeah.
Right? That is one big plane. And you walk inside, you're like, hello, hello, it's a big plane.
Sure.
And then when that sucker gets 35,000 feet in the air,
Yeah.
and you are on the ground,
Yeah.
and you look up, and you see that plane, it's a speck.
Yeah.
It's a little bitty speck.
Yeah.
And so perspective is so different. When, and we are in the here, in the now, and in the moment, and we only have vision for what is right in front of us.
Yep.
And even if we call ourselves dreamers and have vision out, we can only envision so much and so far.
Yeah.
And so understanding the limits of your perspective is so important. We see the moment, God sees eternity.
Yeah, that's a cool statement. And then one of my buddies said this a long time ago, and it's always stuck with me. When it comes to perspective, the idea that when we pray and we ask for something, and then it doesn't come true or it doesn't happen, and we're like, man, God, why don't you answer my prayers? Well, maybe he is answering your prayers.
Yeah.
Maybe he's saying, not right now, just back up a little bit.
Yeah.
You want X, Y, Z. Well, I'll give it to you if it's according to my plan. But our perspective is, I want it now, and I think that's part of that human nature. Especially living in America, we want stuff so immediate. We want it right now, and an idea that God, has the ability to have that eternal perspective, where we're more of a worldly perspective. God's not necessarily not giving you what you want. He's just maybe taking a step back and be like, I know what's best for you, and right now, that's not the best thing for you. I can't tell you the number of times I prayed, like, God, just give me this medic card. Like, if I get this, I'll get a full-time job, and my life will be so peachy, everything will be great. And God's like, well, wait a second. I'm going to make you wait 9 years for that one. And just that idea that he had that eternal perspective, he knew what was best for me, and I had no idea.
Yeah, and we don't know what is going on with the timing thing.
Absolutely.
But I think it is important to have that trust that something is going on. And a lot of times it's a refinement of who we are. It's a preparation. If we've got it now, would it turn out to be a bigger disaster or problem in our life down the road? Because maybe we're not prepared. Maybe we don't have the maturity. Maybe we don't have the support system behind us to handle if we got it now. Okay,
yeah.
And so I think that's that whole idea of perspective. We see the moment, and he sees that eternity. He can see it from a 30,000-foot view that we don't get, and so there's a trust that you have to develop to see. Okay, I don't see what the pilot sees up there. So I got to set back a little bit, all right? I want to think about this for a second. So when you start questioning God, right? When you start questioning God, this is our third thing here. When you question God, I just want you for a second to look at his list of accomplishments versus yours, okay?
Yeah.
Or just
really look at it. Don't sit there like, I'm the man, I do it all. Like, really,
Yeah. Like, when you look at what God is and does, and from creation to just the whole idea of this universe, this earth, this planet, how it just works in such harmony. I mean, I look at this, I always say, the problem, I told you before, I want God to be visible. And one of the practices that I have done more and more in the last 15 or 20 years is actually know and trust and see what he does. I can see him now. And a big way that I see him is through his creation. Mm-hmm. When I go out and drive or get out into the woods or work with, plants or whatever, or go swimming in the ocean, to me it's like, wow. Yeah. All this works in a harmony, in a system. The idea that us as is animals eating plants and that balance, the whole carbon dioxide and oxygen balance. You know, it's like, oh, that just happened.
Yeah.
You know, no. I mean, so I think the idea that we say, I just need to see God. He's there.
Yeah.
His creation is everywhere. And to put that in perspective, that his list of accomplishments are a little bit bigger than yours.
Yeah, and I think a lot of ways we want to put on those blinders, like, you know, what you're going through is so much bigger than what God can do for me, or so much bigger than his accomplishments and who he is. And we try and almost like minimize or put God in like this little box, like, you know, I can do this by myself. And I think, you know, part of leading, you know, I'm sure you can attest, sometimes in our story, like some of our personal failures that we see as failures, like, did I fully trust God? And did I fully trust in his timing? And do I trust that his accomplishments are real? Like, do I minimize those and be like, God, come on! Like, what I'm going through, I'm trying to get this stupid paramedic card, and you know, and you created the whole world,
right?
And you almost put them like in this little box, and like, let's really take a step back and let's look at some of those accomplishments, and then realize, man, those are so much bigger than any failures that I'm going through. Like, holy smokes, like those are so much bigger.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And so I look at the idea too of when I get frustrated with God, when He's not wearing my watch, that it's my pride and my arrogance that is getting in the way. I think I have a better plan. I think I know better. I think, you know, and I think there's a real value in us understanding the limiting factor, the limiting capacity of our own pride and arrogance. How we limit God, which ultimately limits ourself.
Yeah.
Because we don't give God the opportunity to just do what He's going to do.
Yeah.
And so we jump in and we get in our own way, and those ultimately leads to mistakes and hurts and failures and so on. And so the limiting capacity of our own pride and arrogance, I think, is huge. And that's why God talks about, you know, to be humble. To sit back, submit yourself to God, and you're like, oh, that's not of my nature.
Right, and I think it's important to realize that through the whole process, as you're going through your failure or your personal, what you see as failures, as you're going through those, and when you don't think your time is lining up with God's, that idea that it's okay to question God, but don't doubt God. There's a big difference in doubting versus questioning. I mean, Jesus questioned God. You know, is there any other way to go through? You know, when he was getting ready to be, you know, beaten and bruised and put up on a cross, he questioned, like, is there any other way to do this? But he never doubted God. Like, it's okay to question what you're going through and your failures, what's happening, but don't doubt who God is and what He's ultimately going to do for you. Don't doubt His time. Doubt your own time. Doubt your personal failures. Like. But don't doubt who God is. Question it, but don't doubt it.
Right, and because He wants to see your faith. I mean,
absolutely.
You know, Jesus asked, "Do you want to get better?"
Yeah.
You know, what do you want? Do you believe you can get better? You know, do you believe that? Do you have the faith that this could actually happen? So I think that's a test for us to say, I do believe. Okay, even though I don't see, I do believe. Yeah. Right. The fourth thing is I just wrote the idea of enjoy the ride. Yeah. So I would think about this for a second. So we are in the age right now of self-driving cars.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see you doing a self-driving car. I can see that.
No way.
Well, why wouldn't you do a self-driving car?
I think probably for the same reason that that whole idea hasn't taken off. That idea that
you're a big chicken.
I don't want to give up the steering wheel. It's my steering wheel. It's my truck. I'm not giving that up.
You're a big chicken. Come on.
Probably.
So the idea of self-driving cars, you know, in a perfect world, that makes complete sense. Yeah. Right? It makes complete sense. Man, I'll hop in the car and just hit the go button, whatever that looks like, and it's going to get me to my destination.
Might make traveling easier.
Yeah.
I hate traveling.
Yeah, see, you right now, you already said you can't do 6 hours or something like that without freaking out. So, yeah, you can just kick back, right?
Yeah.
But self-driving cars, in the era that we are right now, and maybe 15, 20 years from now, this show will be completely obsolete around this topic.
Yeah.
But right now, no way. We don't believe that car is going to do what the manufacturer says it's going to do.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to die in this car, and we don't trust. We don't trust it. And so, just think about that for a second. That we want to have control. Where our nature is to be a control freak.
Yep.
We want to have our finger on the pulse. We got to know in life. We got to know what everybody's doing. We got to be in everybody's business. We got to make sure this is happening and that's happening. And I think sometimes here God is saying, shut up and get in the back seat.
Yeah.
All right? Don't be a backseat driver.
Yeah.
Just, I got the wheel. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
And when we start to think that way of, you know what, I can trust God, I can trust the people around me that are also trying to live for God, I can take a deep breath and I can enjoy the ride. I think that's just such a big thing that it's a practice.
Oh,
it's a practice.
Absolutely. And how cool is it when you get to the point, when your timing, when that timing of you getting the job, when you getting whatever you've been wanting and it just hasn't synced up, when you get that, how much more do we really evaluate, like, man, God is so good. Mm-hmm. Like, he knew so much better. Like, through the whole process of trying to find a job, I wanted Norwood Fire Department so stinking bad. Like, that was the job. That was the bee's knees for me. And looking at now, the only reason I wanted that is because of the money.
Yeah.
I wanted that job because they paid really well. And then now, looking at now, I'm like, man, if I didn't work for Dayton, I wouldn't get to fight fire the way I do.
Yeah.
Like,
which is what you enjoy.
That's what, right? Exactly. Yeah, and it's so cool to look, and I appreciate so much more the whole ride that I had to go through to get where I'm at now. Man, I understand what it's like to be, in the grind, working every day to try and get that full-time job. I feel for those guys. Yeah. But if I was just given that job right away, would I have the same perspective I do now? Right. I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm thinking back now to the self-driving car. If the day comes, and it probably will, where I hop in that self-driving car and I get to the destination that I'm supposed to get to safely, comfortably, no incidents at all, I think my thought will be, because of the man that I am, I think the thought will be, wow, that company did an incredible job. They covered all the bugs. They covered all of the glitches. They covered it all. Whether it's Tesla or Ford or Chevrolet or whoever it is that finally gives us enough to trust, I will give them so much credit. I'll be like, man, I got my Ford that drove me all the way to wherever, and I didn't even think twice about it. Yeah. I will give them so much credit. Think about how much credit, if you understand the manufacturer of driving your life, okay? That God, if you truly sit back and let him do his thing and trust. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. There's still rough roads that the car is going to travel over, right? Oh, yeah. But the trust that God is going to get me to where I want to go, to where I desire. And will I give him the credit? Yeah. Or will I still be full of pride and arrogance saying, I did this and I did that? And so my prayer is that, I'm ready to say, hey, this is, I want to jump on the ride, and God, just take it and get me to where we need to go. Man. So
well, that's cool stuff. That's a lot of cool stuff we really unpacked talking about. Just again, there's nothing wrong with God's watch. Like, his watch is so good, and there's a reason for everything that he's got going on. And even though it doesn't always sync up with what our watch, like, we have to trust the process. And we it's okay to question it, but we can't doubt God's watch. Like, his watch and his will maybe are something completely different than what we got going on, but we just have to trust that he is the driver of our life, and that he has us in our best interest at hand, and he's going to take care of us. And it may not always look what we want it to look like, but we got to trust it. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of value in trusting who God is, trusting his watch, trusting his will, and see where that takes you. And just like you're saying, enjoy the ride. Yeah.
So your challenge this week, strong dads out there, is whatever it is that you're trying to hold on to, that you can't figure out, that you're getting frustrated about. Your challenge this week is to take a deep breath, back away, and give this to God. Give him the steering wheel right now, okay? I mean, it's such a freeing, awesome feeling. Just give it up, and keep that practice going. Keep practicing that. That trust will build more and more. All right, so good stuff. Let's go ahead and say thanks to our sponsors one last time.
Heck yeah, go down to Kramer's Beer House. Go check out their urinal they got down there.
Their urinal. You're a sick man.
I know.
Their menu.
Oh, yeah, their menu. They're incredible pork chops. Go down to Crimer's Beer House down on Route 128. They've been around since 1982, the Crimer family. Definitely a West Side Cincinnati favorites. Definitely go down there and check them out.
Also, we want to thank Mansfield Insurance again for their continued support of rock solid families along with strong dads. So thank you for all your support. Again, if you have questions or concerns or you would like to reach out to us at Rock Solid Families, you can reach me at hutch@rocksolidfamilies.org or give us a call at 812-576-7625. So, Kyle, sign us off.
Merle, I'll see you next year. And
man, yeah. Wow. Okay.
The next decade I'll see us. But yeah, go out there and be some strong dads.
Hey, this is Merle Hutchinson from Strong Dads. Strong Dads wants to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency in Bright, Indiana for sponsoring today's Strong Dads podcast. Established in 1981, the Mansfield Insurance Agency has been dedicated to the individuals and businesses in Bright, Indiana, serving clients throughout Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.